How's it going, everybody? We are live once again, right here, week 16, and we already got a cheer. Look at that. Old Angry Gamer, thank you very much for the 180 bits. Appreciate you. We're going to talk about your questions here on this show. We're going to break down the lineups on DraftKings, try and see how we can build the best lineup this week, going with your 2v2s and your 3v3s, your questions about value. A whole lot of value opened up today. So if you're new watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and click that like button. Let's see if we can get 500 likes on this video. It's the first video I've done in about a week, as last week I was in Miami for the DraftKings finals. Didn't quite go as well as I would hope that it would have, but it was a really fun trip nonetheless, and now we get back to the grind with some of the biggest tournaments all year in week 16. And if you've ever played daily fantasy over the course of a season of NFL before, you know that week 17 is an absolute fun fest as players sit, and it opens up value, and there's a lot to digest in week 17. So week 16, championship week in fantasy football, is the last real serious week before we get into the hilarity that is week 17 and then the playoffs. So let's get right to it. We're going to open up the chat here. The chat, as always, is locked down to subscribers only, where they're going to be able to ask me questions. Subscribers on twitch.tv/Al_Smizzle. Got a bunch of them here today, so let's get into it. What X factors and core values do we have this week since Best Buys? That's a good question. We have a couple of them. I'm going to bring them up here in just a second. We have this guy, and we have this guy. Since, like, at this point in the season, everything's an if-then statement, right? So understanding that everything's going to be an if-then statement, you have to realize that if certain people are out, then other players are going to become value plays. So like somebody like Capri Bibbs all of a sudden vaults to one of the best plays on the slate, maybe a top 20 running back on the week in projections overall, and at only 3,500 if Pirine is out. And he got injured on Thursday's practice, did not practice on Friday. Typically, if you don't practice on Friday, you're not going to play in the game on Sunday. So we're in a holding pattern here in wait-and-see mode to see if we can get Capri Bibbs active for this slate. Shady80880, thank you for the Twitch Prime resub, 4 months in a row. And the other one, Chris Godwin. We talked about him on the Edge podcast, going to be thrust into a huge role with Djax already ruled out for the week, so this one we know. This is not somebody who's going to get a lot of targets on a normal week. However, the last time that he was out, when he was going to start, 5 catches, 10 targets, 68 yards, no touchdowns, really only needed 9 points. Got you 11.8, multiplier of pretty much 4. He's gotten to that route again against Detroit 2 weeks ago. We could see something similar again this week, where they're going to throw the ball. They're going to have to keep up with Carolina, and he should be a really solid value play, one of the higher-owned players on the slate based on the value that he gives you. And what we were talking about at wide receiver this week, looking for value plays at wide receiver is going to be tough. Some of the ones that we identified in Best Buys don't have the best cornerback matchups, but they're in great spots in terms of the volume that they've been receiving. Now you've got somebody in Godwin in not a terrible matchup, right? Who's also in a situation where he's going to see a ton of volume in terms of snaps, routes run, and very likely targets. So those two have been the biggest jumps for me in terms of value since I turned in the article on Wednesday. Does Zeke walk right back into the team, jam him in? Yeah, they're not going to skimp on him. He's fine. He'll see over 20 touches easily, possibly 25. He's only 8K. Absolutely love him. Stanton Fitzgerald stack in cash. I love Stanton in cash. I don't know that you need to stack him, but if you want to play Fitzgerald, I love that he's gotten his highest target percentage with Stanton at quarterback, over 28%, with Stanton at quarterback versus 26 and 24 with the other two quarterbacks that have played for Arizona. Fitzgerald is absolutely fine there. I don't see them scoring on the ground. It should come through the run. Best ways to stack with Cam. Best way to stack with Cam to me is right now looks like through his running back or his tight end, either Olsen or McCaffrey. Kendall Wright, GPP cash, or both. I was interested in him for both. Mostly, well, not for both. I was more interested in him in cash than GPP. And most people don't understand that. Like, well, if he's a cash play, then he should be a GPP play. No, he's a cash play because if he gets that amount of volume, he's such a low ADOT guy that he could get you 10, 11 fantasy points, but it's going to be rare for somebody like Kendall Wright to score 2 touchdowns or even 1 touchdown. So for him to get to like 25 or 30 DraftKings points is going to be really difficult, where somebody like Godwin could catch a long touchdown and get you to 20 fantasy points more often than somebody like Kendall Wright. So I prefer Bibbs over Gallman for cash. Worth a look there. I'm going to have to dig more into that. Right now, if Pirine was out, I would prefer Bibbs. Having heard, the bird is the word. That's true. You can go with Bird for Carolina if you want the cheap play. I think he's still 3, isn't he? 3,500 this week as well. going up against Tampa Bay, who has struggled pretty much against every wide receiver that's been out there. Allen versus Thomas in cash. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at Allen versus Thomas in cash. So we've got Keenan Allen, Thomas. I like both. And it's not all that difficult to get there with the value that just popped up. We know what Keenan Allen had done before this stretch, right? He had this ridiculous stretch right here, right? 3 straight games, 10 catches, 100 yards. The only player ever to do that in NFL history. Then he had another 100-yard game the game after that. And then against KC, everybody got injured for the Chargers, and it was just a rough day. I think you're going to see closer to this 20-point output than this 10-point output this week, which puts him back in play for me. Really high floor player with the high ceiling that we've seen in 3 of the last 5 weeks. Thomas has been on the wrong side of touchdown variance all year and still posting really good numbers, right? And he's going to be the highest targeted wide receiver that there is for the Saints. Atlanta tends to try and shift targets away from wide receivers and down to backs, which is great for somebody like Kamara, somebody like Ingram this week. I like the backs in this game, but if you want to play Thomas kind of as a leverage play, I think Thomas is fine, and you can leverage him against all the people that are going to have the running backs in this game as well. Only 7,600, definite 25, 30-point upside with, I don't know what, like a 12-point floor, very likely looking at his game log, right? Like he's not the type of guy who's going to all out fail for you, you know, like he did here week 6, right? But that's against Darius Slay. It was such a long time ago. This offense has evolved, and it's basically those 3 cats. It's Ingram, it's Kamara, and it's Thomas. Those are the 3 guys that they really look to in that offense. Getting back to the chat, Godwin and Capri Bibbs. Bibbs being an if-then statement value play. Yeah, you were answering R. Henderson from before. That's completely true. Kamara and Cash. Yeah, look, there's a lot of running backs this week that I'm considering for cash and tournaments, and possibly like too many. If you really want to take a look at the list, we will in a second. But it's ridiculous. I mean, if you want to go with the play all the dudes lineup, you could actually do that once again this week. Just go with Godwin and Bibbs. If, you know, the if-then statement works out, you go Godwin, Bibbs, and Stanton. You fit anybody you want, right? Do whatever the hell you want with that trio, right? You can do pretty much, you can go with you can go with Gronk, you go with Kelsey, you go with 2 high-priced wide receivers, another high-priced running back, middling defense, and you can fit in like probably a 5 to 6K guy in the flex. Very easy to get that route if you are if you want to go stars and scrubs. Can I rank the 7K running backs? I mean, I can take a look at them for you. I mean, look, this is what I was talking about with the running backs, right? We have Gurley, we have Kareem Hunt, both fine. I love them this week. Kamara, Ingram, fine with both of them as well. Either one that you want to go with. C-Maximus 24.
Dot.
With a massive 1,050 bit donation. That is the, it's going to be the top donator on the day. It's going to sit there right at the top of the chat when you guys see that. And he unlocked gifts for 12 other people in chat. You guys get special Christmas emotes. So thank you very much for the donation and the support of the stream, and some other people in the chat. If you donate a bit donation of 250 bits or more during Christmas week, other people in the chat get free emotes. So kind of a fun way to give, support the stream, and everybody else in chat gets it as well. So Kamara, Ingram, I like them. Elliott's still got this big red O next to them. I'm assuming he's going to be active, so like that's going to go away. He's just an absolute stud. McCoy against New England, but you know he's going to get the volume even though it's in a bad game script situation. I think he's fine. Fournette, probably something I'm going to steer clear of. Just based on how good San Francisco has been the last 4 weeks against the run. They are the stingiest team in terms of defense versus position against the run after being a team that we've streamed running backs against all year. He's the one in this range that I probably don't want very much action with this week. Melvin Gordon without Eckler. Since week 5, 23 or more touches in every single week since week 5, and 59+% of the Chargers' red zone looks, which is the highest in the league. He led the league in that category last year. If they get inside the 20, which they should against the Jets, I absolutely love him too. So basically everybody except Fournette from 7,200 and up is somebody I'm interested in playing this week. You know, so it makes it difficult for somebody like me. It's like I really am going to have to pare that down. Is it the week to pay up at QB and cash? You can, because of all the value that's out there, right? This is what I really like about weeks like this. People are like, oh, there's so much value, so the slate is terrible. Or like when Giovanni Bernard was 3,100. Well, did you like it when Giovanni Bernard was 80+% owned in cash? Well, one, yeah, because like 20% of people didn't pay it, and it's only like 10% rake in cash games. So there's the rake right there, plus 10%. So there's your edge, right? You have a 10% edge over the rake. of the 20% of people are going to say, I'm going to fade Gio Bernard on the week where he's an obvious play in cash. So that's one. Two, it opens up a lot of different routes that you can go with your lineup in that week, right? Where you've got that 3,100 running back, that one spot's going to be really highly owned, but everything else isn't. When the lineups are that tight that there's nowhere else you can go, that's when you see massive overlap everywhere else without many optimal routes that you could get to at running back, wide receiver, tight end. There's a lot of different builds that could score you 150 or more when there's a lot of value out there, and I think that's what we have this week. So you could possibly pay up for quarterback this week. I'm not probably going to get all the way up to the top and go for Russ Wilson in cash. But I can understand going with Cam Newton at 6,800, Drew Brees at 65 at home in a game where they should be throwing a ton. Blake Bortles against San Francisco. Bortles has been outstanding the last few weeks. 4 straight games with multiple touchdowns. This one looks like a 0, but haha, you forgot to look over here. So it's 4 straight games with multiple touchdowns. 6,500, needs about 19 fantasy points to pay it off. He's averaging 17.5 on the year. Up against San Francisco, who has stifled the run and really accentuated the pass in the last 4 weeks. Goff, Woods, Cup, Gurley, Onslaught in cash. Too many Rams. Probably not in cash. I like that for tournaments, though. Like Evans for cash. Very cheap this week. Yeah, I like him, especially without Djax there. He could see 10 targets very easily. Playing both Thomas and Allen in cash. Yeah, you can do that. I love getting 2 10-target wide receivers in cash that aren't, 9,000 like we used to have to do when you tried to get like Antonio Brown or Julio Jones. You got 2 guys at 77 and 7,600 who could very well get 10 plus, right? And Godwin in cash to fit the stud running back. You could do that. If you wanted to go value at wide receiver, you could fit 3 running backs that were 7,200 and above very easily, right? It's a possible route you can go. And that's what I like, because on certain weeks, you look at it, you look at the way that you have to build lineups, and it's really like restrictive, right? So like if we went with Kendall Wright, I'm not saying to do this. If we go with Kendall Wright and we go with Godwin, right? We get those 2 dudes in there. Then let's just take bang, bang, bang. Okay, whatever. Top 3 guys. Probably not going to be the 3 you pick. One of them's probably going to be Elliott. Probably go for one of the 7,000 guys. Whatever. You still have 4,300 you could spend. You still have. Let's just plug in a 3K defense. Bam! I didn't even look at who it is. Patriots. Fine. Tight end. You could go value there. You can go mid range. You can find one more value wide receiver. You can go Stanton at quarterback and bump this up a little bit and go mid 5s here. You can go Olsen at. Right. Olsen's 5,200. Stanton 4,500, you got 4,700 spent on your 3rd wide receiver. You could definitely do that and not be wrong. It's definitely a route that you could go this week and not be wrong. Zeke or Melvin Gordon? I prefer Zeke, but I do like Melvin Gordon. Landry's a cash play every week. He has 1 game under double digits this season. Yep, I don't disagree with you, Justin. Where's the Antonio Gates love? I've talked about him on every single podcast. I wrote him up in Best Buys. He is like in my, if I had like a daily fantasy or fantasy football ring of honor, like around my basement here, right? Like in my studio, if I had a ring of honor of all my favorite players in fantasy of all time, Dante Culpepper would be in there. I had him like all the time when he was on the Vikings. Randy Moss would be in there. I had him since he was a rookie in our Dynasty League. I have Brady would have to be in there too. LaDainian Tomlinson. And Antonio Gates would definitely be in my ring of honor. And at 2,500, with Hunter Henry out, I don't see a problem with him. But I don't know that you need him now with all this extra stuff. Mubot brings up a good point. Donate to the Food Bankroll Builder. I want to touch on that really quick. You guys on YouTube can bear with me for just a second. I'm doing this fundraiser right here. By the end of the year, we've got, a week and a half left. We're 42% of the way to the goal. I'm hoping that we can pick it up as a fantasy football community. Anything that you guys can donate, you can see the donators down below. This Feeding America gives, basically, they keep food banks open. 98% plus of the money donated goes directly to the people in need. It does not take that much to feed a family that needs it. Let's try and do what we can as a community. We're lucky enough to play fantasy football for money with our discretionary disposable income. If you can give $1, if you can give $5, you see that we have had people give $1, $5, $10, all the way up to $1,000 donation. I'm going to be donating $5,000, whether we get to the 10,000 mark or by December 31st. This is a month-long fundraiser that we're doing. We did really well with the Water is Life and Charity Water charity donations. You guys crushed it for that one, and I matched both of those to both of those charities. We're going to do the same thing here with this Feeding America charity. So thank you to everybody that's given. And if you haven't, you can find the the latte money. If you can find that one Starbucks $5 to throw into the bankroll, but that's great. You can find the link on my Twitter feed right down below in YouTube on the comments. And if you type !charity in the chat here on Twitch, you'll always get the link to that as well. So let's get back to it. Who do I like better for cash, Hunt or Gordon? Hunt has burned everybody so much in the past. He has, but he's been outstanding, right? So like everybody who says that he's burned them, he hasn't burned people as much as we want to believe. He burned us in a couple of high-profile spots, right? So like he's been like a boomer bust guy in a few weeks, right? So nobody was on him in week 1 against New England. He went crazy. Then he was like the hottest player in the world, and then his volume kind of tapered off just a little bit, but not massively. Still scoring in the teens. Against Denver, I give everybody a pass against Denver. Running backs too, and I just don't count them. They're the Russian judge. Dallas, this game was definitely disappointing. 9 carries, that was on the coaching staff. Against the Giants, he should have gone nuts. Against Buffalo, he should have gone nuts, right? So those were the 2 spots that he burned us this year. Nobody was on him against the Jets. And then these 2 weeks here, this is where nobody was still on him, and he went absolutely ham, right? 25 points, 42 points. If they're going to give him this amount of volume, this is what I chase, right? I don't chase fantasy points. I don't chase touchdowns. I chase volume. I chase opportunity in the passing game. I chase opportunity in the red zone. If they're not getting into the red zone, that's going to be the problem. But they seem to have figured out where they need to go and when they need to get him the ball. And that is basically get him the ball often, 25 to 30 times a game. And he's going to get all the red zone looks and good involvement in the passing game too in those last 2 weeks with the shift in offensive coordinator calling the plays. Drake or Melvin Gordon? Melvin Gordon for me. S. Boynton just donated. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. You guys don't have to give money in bits to me here or donate money to the stream. Donate money to Feeding America charity. I'd rather the money go there this month. Let's do something good as a fantasy football community, one that we've built here and in Discord. And if you want to get involved in the Discord chat, the link also down below in the YouTube comments, or you can type !Discord in the chat to get in there. Subscribers get access to their own special rooms in Discord, a little perk. Gurley, Cole, or Gordon Woods for DK Cash? Give me Gurley and Cole. I like that one. Which 2 out of Hunt, Zeke, and Gurley in cash? I mean, you're going to save a lot of money by going Hunt, Zeke, so I don't hate that at all. And then you can spend a little bit more on your tight end or your wide receiver. Tyron Smith may not play. Concerns with me with playing Zeke. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a step back, but he's still going to get the volume. I don't mind it. Thoughts on Keelan Cole and cash not needed with present value, or is he still a good play? He's still a good play because Marquise Lee was they just said he's out. He's not doubtful. We don't have to wait and see. We don't have to wait for inactives. He's out. So Keelan Cole, now one of the 2 starting wide receivers for Jacksonville, again, against a team like San Francisco, who is basically turned into a funnel defense, not allowing other teams to run the ball and forcing them to pass. And they don't have really good cornerbacks. So Cole and D.D. Westbrook both in play. There's a difference in price for them on DraftKings that we're going to have to discuss. One, you get a 1 p.m. game, so there's always going to be PMR, right? So Westbrook at 6,100, Marquise Lee out, Keelan Cole 4,700. On DraftKings, I prefer Keelan Cole at 4,700, right? They should see similar volume this week. Westbrook kind of busted last week. Keelan Cole did not. But what we're missing out of this offense, and ignore this last game because Hearns should be out, Marquise Lee out. If Hearns is back, that changes things a little bit. But like 6, 10, 2 against Arizona, but he was guarded by Patrick Peterson, so we avoided him there. 9, 11, 12, that's a lot of targets that got to get soaked up, and they're not all going to go to one guy. You look at D.D. Westbrook. During that time when Marquise Lee was getting targeted very heavily, 10, 9, 8, 6, he was already getting targeted. So those targets have to go somewhere else. Westbrook may see 1 or 2 more, but those targets are going to get soaked up by Keelan Cole. I like him a lot more than Mickens this week. Mickens is going to be the one where you're going to be chasing points. Cole is the one where I'm going to chase snaps, routes run, and targets. I want to chase the volume. I want to chase the opportunity. I don't want to chase the guy that just scored 2 touchdowns and is the trendy, he looks good if you're looking at box scores, right? What's the deal with Mickens? Just talked about it. I think he'll be the slot guy. I think that he's going to see the 3rd amount of targets on that team, if not the 4th. If Hearns plays, does that hurt Cole at all? It hurts Cole a little bit, but I think it hurts. It completely renders Mickens not usable because Cole will go back to his standard role of being the slot guy. Hearns would line up on the outside, Westbrook would line up on the outside, and he'd play the 3 guy, which is essentially what his role has been the last few weeks, and he's been very productive with that. DD better play over on FD, and that was the other part of that, is that they're very similarly priced over on FD, so I prefer DD Westbrook on FanDuel to Cole on DraftKings. Best 3K and below defense and special teams. I don't know. Let's take a look. I mean, they've done a really good job of pricing up any defense that's got opportunity. So the Chargers against the Jets and Petty at 3,700. The Jaguars are going to be the top because they're just always the top. Rams, Bears, like the Bears defense being this high price just because of the matchup against Cleveland, who's been one of the most giving. Obviously, I like the Redskins and the Chiefs. Looking down here, 3K or below. I don't know. Detroit at 29 against Cincinnati. I know it's on the road, but they look to have quit. Good sack amounts from the Lions. They're able to get pressure on the opposing quarterback a little bit. I like the Cardinals against the Giants at 3,000. I want no part of the Giants. Maybe the Browns? Maybe? I mean, it's just, it's not good down here. And I don't know that you need to do that. Like, it's not tight enough that you need to, like, really go completely out on a limb this week to go after something like that. Theo Riddick versus Cincinnati. He dinged himself. Is he ready to go? If he is, then he's fine, but not thrilling. Jarvis Landry, greater than Drake and DK Cash. Good correlation with Hunt, too. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I really don't. I mean, we can take a look at it. Drake's been seeing ridiculous volume, right? But people just ignore. Every single week, people ignore Jarvis Landry. And I don't know why, right? Like, Drake has been good, getting a ton of touches, running all the plays. The problem is, if Williams is back this week, his volume is going to come down a little bit. It might not even be this high with 16 carries plus 11 targets. That's just massive volume, right? If Williams is back this week, and some reports have said that he might be, that's going to take away from Kenyon Drake in terms of his snaps and in terms of his volume, but nothing is taking away from Jarvis Landry. 13 targets, 8 targets, 6 targets, 9, 11, 10, every single week. He just kind of gets there for you. It's not exceptional. It's not thrilling. He has not had a 30-point fantasy game this year. I don't think he's going to have one. That's just not the type of player that he is. The intriguing play here for Miami is down here. Parker practiced today. Looks like he's going to play up against Buffalo in Week 15. 12 targets, 6 against New England. This is a game where they're probably going to have to throw against a defense that has struggled against outside wide receivers. He's a big threat in the red zone. At 4,200, looks like he could pay this off with volume alone, and if he happens to find his way into the box, could absolutely smash value. 4,200, not a bad price for Devonta Parker. He's the Harrison Barnes of the NFL. I like that. I really do like that. That is a good call. CGV with the Landry is the Harrison Barnes of the NFL. Your most popular DFS player. I really like it when DraftKings comes out with those emails telling you, who your most played players were and all that sort of thing at every position. I find those very interesting every single year, except he doesn't produce. Who doesn't produce? Landry? Look at Landry's game logs. He's produced this year consistently. And he's seen a massive uptick in terms of red zone usage and target share. I mean, go look at that again. He's been real solid. Cash game locks with all the value opening up. I mean, the value opening up, the value would be the cash game locks, and then you fit in whoever you want. We talked about 6 or 7 running backs earlier in the show that we want to target this week. Those are the guys that I'm going to want to go heaviest on. If Capri Bibbs is the starter, meaning that Pirine is out, he becomes kind of a lock because the volume is going to be undeniable there. He'll get a lot of it in the pass game, probably get 10 or so carries. Ryan Hodge with 1,100 bits. Taking over the top bit donator on the day, unlocks gifts for 12 others in the chat, blows up the donation cup. Thank you very much, Ryan. Appreciate the love. Yeah, okay, you say you love Landry. Parker, yeah, Parker is up and down. Rivers, Keenan, Gates, and GPP. Yeah, I don't mind that, actually. I mean, we like Gates. We like Keenan. I mean, if you want to do that, I'd go with the complete onslaught. Is that a yelling Levitan? It might be. I can neither confirm nor deny that the cheer emote that Ryan Hodge used was or was not Adam Levitan. Would there be no concern with Bibbs even against Denver? No, I'm not going to be concerned with that. Because Denver's been very giving, and as bad as their offense has been, in terms of turning the ball over a ton and not being able to sustain drives, they're not able to keep opposing offenses off the field, and they're giving up a lot of good field position. So you get a running back in good field position, kind of in the Chris Thompson role in that offense. If I told you that Kapri Bibbs was going to take over what Chris Thompson did, albeit he is not as talented as Thompson, but who's going to get 10 to 12 carries and 6 or 7 targets, and possibly some inside the 5 work as well, because they just don't have anybody else, you'd be all over him for 3,500, and I think that you will. Need a Jerry emote. Ain't my dog, man. I mean, I got 2 cats. I got Mojito and Bonita. I could get my cats their own emote, but I can't have another man's dog be an emote in my channel. Thoughts on Charles Clay? I liked him a lot early in the season. I can't come around on him right now. Like, if I'm gonna go cheap, it's gonna be for Vernon Davis. It's gonna be for Cam Brate in that kind of 3K range, right? Like, those are the guys that I like there. Clay is more expensive. He saw 9 targets last week after 5 the week before. The upside is just minimal here, right? He does not score a lot of touchdowns. Buffalo, a stiff defense, and their linebacking crew does a very good job on opposing tight ends. So, like, I'm probably not going to have very much Clay this week. I think there's softer situations that we can attack. Belichick loves Charles Clay. It's 100% an angry Levitan. It might be. Ebron, he got a lot of volume. I mean, my public divorce from Eric Ebron, you know, he's standing outside my window right now holding up a boombox over his head. Because, like, if we look at this volume that he's had, right? This is what was inconsistent early in the year, right? Topping out at like 4 targets, 3 targets, no red zone usage, losing all of it. 7 targets, 11 targets, 18 in the past 2 weeks. He's 3,700. I'd probably prefer Ebron over Charles Clay. I definitely prefer Ebron over Charles Clay. Favorite contrarian quarterback for GPPs? See, quarterback's not the position that I really think I need to be contrarian at. It's not as valuable, you know, because the best quarterback week is like 35 points. And you can find 10 quarterbacks on any week, they're going to have like 25. So it's like a 10-point difference. And they're all bunched up. So, like, that's why I always like to pay less at quarterback. Quarterback's not a position you need to be contrarian at. Finding a wide receiver, tight end, or running back, those are the guys that can have you 25-point days, 30-point days, where the chalk, if they miss, is going to have like 5, right? There's a massive difference between the wide receiver, running back 1 through 5 and 15 through 20. Not as big a difference between the QB 1 through 5 and QB 15 through 20. So it doesn't pay as much to be contrarian at quarter. Just play the quarterback. None of them are ever really that highly owned anyway. Like, on a huge week, a quarterback's like 20% owned. Brate is questionable. Howard is out. Cross fair game. If both of them are out, yes. If Brate's playing, he's just playing. Bortles, Bibbs, Allen, or Stanton, Zeke, Cole? I kind of like the Stanton, Zeke, Cole one. I think that's the better 3v3 there. The Giants are giving up over 21 points a game the last 4 weeks to opposing quarterbacks. Stanton averages like not Stanton average. Stanton is like projected, raw projection for like 16 plus fantasy points. He needs 13 to pay it off. Like, nobody's a free square at quarterback. There's no running game there. Like, it just looks like it's a very easy path to him to earning a profit on that salary. Let's take a look at a couple of things really quickly. So going back to the running backs, there's just a ton of them, right? Gurley, Hunt, Kamara, Ingram, Elliott, McCoy, all in play for me, and Melvin Gordon as well, right? All those guys are in play for me for cash. We talked about Kapri Bibbs being the guy if Sammy P. Ryan is out. I think McCaffrey makes for a really good GPP play, especially when paired with Cam Newton. Wide receiver, Keenan Allen, Thomas, probably my 2 favorite cash game guys to pay up for. Cooks is somebody that I like if Hogan is out. It looks like Hogan's going to be back, so Cooks kind of takes a bit of a hit for me. Larry Fitzgerald also. AJ Green is really cheap. He does have a tough cornerback matchup this week. Mike Evans at 6,400. also really solid. And then a lot of value plays we talked about. Keelan Cole at 4,700, Godwin at 3,000, all the way down at the bottom for Tampa Bay with Deshaun Jackson out. At tight end for tournaments, I love paying up for tight ends in tournaments. Gronkowski and Kelsey are two guys that I would love to pay up for this week in tournaments. Kelsey, Adam Levitan tweeted out once again, anytime he's held under X amount, under like 11 points the last 3 years, he has had bounce back spots in 7 of 8 of those games that he has had a bad game. He's come back with a monster game. Greg Olsen, probably the best mid-range guy, coming down to the 3K range. Guys like Ebron, Davis, Brait, probably your best plays. Antonio Gates at 2,500 is your best value play on the board. Defenses, my favorite two are probably going to be up here above 3K, Chiefs and Redskins. Maybe sprinkle in a little bit of Cardinals as well if you're building a bunch of lineups. Jaguars always palatable for me, and always want to attack the Browns because with Kaiser at quarterback, the dysfunctional situation they have in Cleveland is always a great place to attack. And then you can fill in wherever you want with your flex play. So that's going to do it for the Lineup Builder Show. Thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate the support. And if you do have the time this Christmas season, please take a second and give to Feeding America. The link is right down in the chat below here on YouTube. You can type !charity on Twitch, or the pinned post on my Twitter account at Al Zeidenfeld has the link to donate as well. Thank you very much for tuning into the show. Smash that like button before you leave, and appreciate all the support this year. Hope you guys have a very happy, safe Christmas this year as well. If I don't see you before New Year's, happy and safe New Year's as well. Bye, everybody.